There is one habit that can completely change your life, yet it is rarely talked about because most people don't want to face it. It's not waking up early, exercising, or meditating. It's having the courage to face and fully feel all of your emotions, including the negative ones. Most of us only want to keep the pleasant feelings and do everything we can to avoid pain, anxiety, or hurt. But this avoidance causes negative emotions to build up, turning into an invisible burden that affects our thoughts, actions, and overall life. Happiness is not free. It has a price. And that price is accepting everything that has happened in your life, from pain and mistakes to uncomfortable memories. When you are brave enough to feel it all, you can truly free yourself and begin living a lighter, more fulfilling life. Ben grew up in a family filled with tension and conflict. From a young age, he was used to waking up to his mother's yelling and falling asleep to his parents arguing. Neither of them was satisfied with their lives, and instead of reflecting on themselves, they constantly blamed each other. Ben's home lacked warmth. It was filled with anger, criticism, and endless arguments over both big and small things. In that environment, Ben learned to suppress his emotions. He didn't dare show sadness or anger because he feared making things worse. Instead, he turned to TV shows with happy families as a way to escape reality. In that imagined world, people loved each other, laughed, and lived joyfully, the complete opposite of his own life. This emotional avoidance, combined with the lack of a healthy environment, caused Ben to carry deep wounds throughout his childhood, laying the foundation for struggles later in life. As he grew older, Ben carried a strong desire to build a happy family like the ones he saw on TV. To him, that was the only meaning of life. However, reality was very different. In relationships, Ben always tried to please others, changing himself to avoid conflict because he feared arguments like those from his childhood. But this led him into toxic relationships where he was criticized, demanded from, and unappreciated. No matter how hard he tried, things always fell apart. The cycle of love, endurance, and failure repeated for years, leaving him exhausted and hopeless. At 40, he realized he was still alone, feeling empty, and began to question whether he even deserved happiness. The turning point in Ben's life came when he met a strange man on a bus. Despite his simple appearance, the man radiated a rare positive energy. Through their conversations, he shared a perspective that made Ben think. People are not tired because of lack of sleep, but because they carry unresolved emotional burdens. Painful memories, trauma, and suppressed emotions are what truly drain us every day. The man also said that happiness is not free. The price is everything: your past, your pain, your regrets, and the emotions you always try to avoid. To truly be happy, you must have the courage to face and fully feel everything within you instead of continuing to run away. The core lesson Ben realized is that most people only want to keep pleasant emotions and avoid pain. When sadness or hurt appears, they immediately turn to their phones, entertainment, or relationships to escape. But avoidance doesn't make emotions disappear, it only causes them to build up over time. These unresolved emotions become an invisible weight that quietly affects our thoughts, behaviors, and the way we build our lives. The only way to truly free yourself is to face everything you have been avoiding. That means allowing yourself to feel pain, fear, and uncomfortable memories. When you stop running and start feeling, you begin to release the burden and move closer to true freedom and happiness. For the first time in his life, Ben chose not to run away. He turned off all distractions, like TV and his phone, and sat alone in silence. Memories from his painful childhood began to surface. At first, he felt intense resistance, as if his mind wanted to escape. But Ben stayed and allowed himself to feel everything. For 72 hours, he experienced the most intense emotions: pain, fear, anger, and even despair. It was like 18 years of suppressed emotions erupting all at once. Despite how difficult it was, Ben didn't give up. He understood this was necessary to release the deep wounds within him. By facing his emotions directly, he slowly began to feel lighter, freeing himself from the burden he had carried for so long. After consistently facing his emotions over time, Ben gradually felt lighter. The burdens that had weighed him down for years began to lift, bringing him a sense of peace and clarity. Most importantly, he learned how to be happy on his own, no longer depending on others to fill the emptiness inside. He also began to set boundaries in relationships, respect himself, and no longer tolerate negativity. Ironically, when Ben stopped desperately searching for love, he met someone truly right for him. This relationship was no longer based on neediness or dependency, but on balance and sincerity. Finally, at the age of 50, he achieved the happy family he had always dreamed of, but in a completely different way than he once imagined. The final message of this story is clear. Happiness does not come from chasing external things like love, money, or a perfect life. What truly matters is what happens within you. If you keep avoiding pain, those wounds will quietly control your life. But when you face and accept all your emotions, you begin to free yourself from the past. Happiness is not about eliminating negative emotions, but learning to accept and process them in a healthy way. When you do this, you feel lighter, freer, and no longer dependent on anything external. From there, your life will naturally shift in a more positive, lasting, and meaningful direction. A key lesson you can apply immediately is this. When negative emotions arise, don't rush to escape. Instead of reaching for your phone or distractions, try sitting still and listening to yourself. Allow yourself to fully feel sadness, anxiety, or pain without judgment. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but it is necessary to release suppressed emotions. As you maintain this habit, your mind will gradually become lighter, and you will begin to notice positive changes from within.